S.
Hi.
Hi, I don't see the Zoom link in the team feed.
Okay, I'll text it to you.
No, I can see it in what you sent it to me, but I don't know if everyone else can see it.
Okay.
I saw the reminder about the questions, but I didn't see a link. I don't know if you've got people joining already.
Yep, there's 10 people in the waiting room.
Okay, so then must be just me. Okay, so don't worry about it.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.
Hi, everybody. We're just having people jump on the call here, but we're going to get started right away. It's just turned 5:31, so welcome to What's Up Wednesday. Last week we had a fantastic episode with Mabel Zavaris, and today we get to enjoy the company of Tessa Cieplucha, and just a little intro for Tessa. You know, I started coaching her when she was, I think, 13, 14, and had the pleasure of working with her until she graduated and went to University of Tennessee, where she has really done a great job, just blossomed her career, and just recently won the ISL, beating the Olympic champ and world record holder in the 400 IM, and also the defending Pan Am champion in the 400 IM. So without too much further ado, I want to pass it over to Tess. She's going to give you a little intro, and then we'll open it up for questions. So welcome, Tess.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. So hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Tessa Cieplucha. I'm 22. I'm from Georgetown, Ontario, and I've lived there my whole life until going off to school at the University of Tennessee, where I am in my 5th year, my last semester, double majoring in environmental science and geography. In the pool, I specialize in the 400 IM. I started swimming at a really young age. My older sister was also swimming, and that's kind of how everything got started. She swam throughout her college career as well, and so I've kind of always looked up to her and used her for motivation and inspiration ever since. Before going into high school, actually, I kind of switched clubs a few times because I kind of started to outgrow the clubs and needed to find faster groups to train with and different coaches to work with. So that's when I started working with Sean, and I think that was definitely the best decision I made for my pre-college swimming career. That's definitely where I started gaining a lot of confidence in my swimming, started doing a lot of things that I'd never done in practice and in meets, and kind of like understanding and realizing that I can actually like take swimming to the next level, and that's when it became really fun. So currently I've been on the national team for 2 years, but in 2014, that's when I made my junior national debut. And my first team that I made was for open water in 2014. I have since then not done any other open water, but I think it was a really great experience for me when I was younger. Kind of Sean's philosophy and like training before going off to college, I had a more like distance background in training, so that was a really good opportunity for when I was younger. And then the years following that, I made a few more junior teams for pool swimming, and that's when I really started to focus on the 400 IM specifically in practices, and also making more realistic and also bigger goals for the meets, that's kind of when I started focusing on it. And then after high school, I went off to the University of Tennessee, and I've had a blast. It was a really big change for me, and honestly, I kind of struggled my first year. I think I was getting overwhelmed with the kind of change. Obviously, living on your own, first time away from home, completely different practices, completely different coaches. I kind of got a little, I think, in my head, and kind of was overthinking swimming for that first little bit. And I know sometimes that's common with people going off, living on their own for the first time, but obviously some people can really break through their first year. That's just kind of my experience going off into school. But I think, and I know that's kind of negative, but I'm definitely grateful going through that, because the summer after, with Sean's help and with more help from my coaches at school, I kind of took a step back and like realized that I just need to come at swimming with a different perspective. And obviously, I was getting older, things were changing, and so I kind of had to change the way that I was looking at swimming and kind of like refocus on the things that I love about it and that were fun. And so after going through that, I definitely gained more confidence in myself and in training. And going into the next few years at school, that's kind of when I started having major breakthroughs in practice and at meets, breaking school records, winning an SEC championship, both individually and as a team. And on my last year, finishing off with the fastest time in the nation. It was really cool, and I'm really grateful for absolutely everything that I've learned from my team at school. And to date, my biggest accomplishment internationally was winning the 400 IM at the 2019 Pan American Games. That was such a fun experience. That was my first kind of big solo international meet. And it was I was really excited, but obviously I was like kind of nervous and pretty intimidated because that was like my first big meet. But I think that experience was extra special to me because I had a lot of friends on the Canadian team, and also there was a lot of friends on the US team from school. And so it kind of made it less intimidating and less scary. And so I had some really good swims there, and I'm really happy with everything that I was able to accomplish. When I was kind of like preparing for this, I kind of remembered back that for the longest time, so ever since I was little, it was like a dream of mine to hear the national anthem being played for you after a race at a big meet. And so once that happened, that was like the coolest feeling ever. And it kind of made me realize like, okay, let's see how many more times I can get the national anthem played. And so that was definitely really cool. And so now that I'm done swimming for college, I'm now a professional athlete. And this past fall, I was part of the Toronto Titans in season 2 of the ISL, the International Swimming League. Being in the middle of a pandemic right now, having this opportunity, I definitely wanted to take advantage of any opportunity I had to swim and race and travel, because I know that there's a lot of people that don't have a pool right now, but it's definitely something that I knew I couldn't take for granted because a lot of people have or aren't able to do anything. And so, yeah, I'm really happy that that was actually able to happen, first of all. When we were there, I mean, it was definitely weird having like no fans in the stands and seeing everyone on deck wearing masks. But the whole ISL did a really phenomenal job in making everything safe. I hope that some of you watched some of the races on TV. Honestly, when I was not at the pool, I would watch the meet on TV back at the hotel, and it was just as exciting watching it, and it kind of felt like you were there at the meet. So they did a really good job with that, and I'm definitely excited for season 3. But yeah, right now I'm back home training with Sean, preparing for trials. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen this summer.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
great, Tess. We'll get some questions coming through, and while you guys are getting your questions together, first one right away. Nina says, "Woohoo!" Second one, how do you get ready for a race and stay calm right before the race?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's definitely something that I have been working on for years, going through a lot of ups and downs and like really good swims and then not so great swims, kind of how I've learned to kind of deal with my nerves, especially at like a big competition. Something that I've really been working on these past few years has been right before, like right after warm up and kind of getting my way like into the ready room before the meet or before the race. I really like to focus on my breathing and not getting too overwhelmed or not overthinking the race so much. It's something that definitely takes time to practice and to get comfortable with. And obviously it might not be for everyone, but this is definitely what has been working for me lately. Once I get into the ready room, I like to just sit down and kind of be as calm as possible, and try not to let my nerves get the best of me, because I've been through so many races where I do let my nerves get the best of me, and then I don't necessarily swim the way that I want to. And so with trying to stay as calm as possible before the race, it also helps to kind of think about how much fun you're going to have and how much fun you've had preparing for this race, and kind of looking back on everything that you've done. It kind of calms your nerves a bit, and it just helps you get excited for what you're about to do.
Great. Coach Glenn's asking, how was the experience in the bubble in Budapest, and what were the biggest challenges in that environment?
Yeah, the whole ISL, it was such a fun experience. With the bubble, they did a really good job about keeping everyone safe. So when we arrived in Budapest, we had to quarantine for a few days until we got 2 COVID test results back. And then after we got 2 negative tests, we were able to kind of go out into the hotel and like eat in the kind of cafeterias that they had and go train at the pool. And for the rest of the 6 weeks that we were there, we got COVID tests every 5 days. And so they really were able to stay on top of everyone. We had to wear masks everywhere, and like eating the meals in like all the cafeterias, they had like single tables with a single chair, and so they were really on us for staying 6 feet apart and wearing masks everywhere. At the pools, they did a really good job with cleaning the facilities and making sure everything was going smoothly. Honestly, by the end of the trip, it was kind of nice because, well, the whole time we were in the bubble, we had like 2 hotels that were specifically for all the swimmers and coaches. And so that's kind of the bubble that we had in the hotels. There weren't that many locals that were there. And so it was kind of nice hanging or being around like only a certain amount of people for 6 weeks. And by the end of it, you kind of forgot that COVID was a thing because you were only with a certain amount of people. And so that was kind of nice, but still the whole time they were very on top of keeping everything safe. And so it was a really fun experience. I got to meet a lot of new people from around the world and work with a lot of coaches from around the world. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to next season.
That's awesome. One question, I think you've touched a bit on it. How can you swim so fast under so much pressure? Also, how do you overcome getting tired?
So how can you swim so fast under pressure? I have definitely learned this over the years and through experience, that when the term under pressure, it really is how much pressure you put on yourself. And I think sometimes that needs to happen through, or sometimes you need to learn that through experience. But say you're going to a meet and you have some really big goals for yourself, and your coach is really excited about how training has been, and your parents are in the stands, like really excited for you. Really, and everyone believes in you, and everyone knows that you've been putting in the work and putting in the training beforehand. So the only person that really needs to convince you to swim fast is you. And so once you're able to kind of take that pressure off yourself after kind of trusting the work that you've done beforehand, and really like remembering all the hard sets that you've done and remembering what all the coaches have told you along the way, it's really just yourself that is putting pressure on yourself. And so once you can kind of take a step back and have more fun with that, that kind of relieves some of the pressure. And then it turns into excitement, which can eventually like help you swim faster.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So next question, what process did you go through when deciding whether to go to university in Canada or the US?
Yeah, so the whole recruiting process was definitely a lot. My sister went through the recruiting process and went to the States for a year for university, so that kind of broke the ice on like different ways of talking to coaches. I kind of like had seen her go through it, so made it a little bit easier for me. I think it was really cool to see that schools were interested in you and wanted to have you on their team. I talked to a bunch of schools across the whole U.S. and a bunch of coaches, and they were all talking about their program in different ways. And so it's really important for you to make a connection with the coach before you go, and kind of in the way that they're describing their program. They all like say the same thing, but they kind of say it in different ways. And so you really need to find which one works best for you with the philosophy that you have for swimming, and kind of what the coach says that makes you feel most comfortable. I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people, and I was offered some scholarships, and so and I'm grateful for that. And I think after taking some trips and talking to a lot of people, I think the University of Tennessee for me really felt like home. I really connected with their team values that they were preaching through to recruits and also throughout the team. And so something that specifically something about Tennessee that stood out to me was definitely their team culture and how excited everybody gets for each other. And also how much the coaches are invested in you as a person, in addition to being an athlete. And so I think it's just it's important to find something that you can connect with at a strong level at whatever school you're going to go to.
Okay, I think you answered most of the next question. Was there something specific that stood out to you about Tennessee?
Yeah, I think definitely, just kind of if I'm going to expand on that a bit, it's definitely the connection that I had with the coaches. I know when you go off to college, you're growing up, you're finding yourself, you're kind of figuring out what you want to do with your life. And so the coaches that I had the pleasure of working with were really invested in growing you as a person, and not just in the water, but also every lifestyle and every life experience. They definitely wanted you to have the best experience to prepare you going off into the world afterwards. And so I really appreciate everything that the coaches at school did for me. And I definitely think I'm coming out a better person, not just a better athlete after going to school there.
That's hard to imagine, but that's good to hear. You've always been a great person. So the next question is, how do you motivate yourself to become a better swimmer? And do you ever have off days?
Yes. Off days, yes. I think everybody has off days. You can't be human if you don't have off days, especially in sport. And so I think it's really important to, if you do have an off day, after you come back from practice or after you come back from whatever, just kind of take a step back and just like acknowledge what happened, evaluate the whole scenario, and kind of pick pieces that you can learn from. That's also something that I've been learning to do over the past few years, is if you're not quite happy with something, don't overanalyze it, but analyze it enough that you can pick something that you can learn from and will work towards not doing that same thing again, perhaps. But how I keep motivated for practices and for competition, obviously, I think the biggest thing that motivates me is definitely my teammates. Right now, I'm back home with Sean, so I have Mabel and Nina with me every day, and they definitely push me in the water. And also back at school, I had so many teammates that would push me. And I think when they push me, I take what I learned from them into my races, and then I use that to look to the people beside me, whether it's another teammate or a person from a different team, and I use them as motivation. I pretend that they're a friend and I want to be like a friendly competition. And I really look towards the people that I work with on a daily basis to give me motivation and to kind of push me to the next levels.
Awesome. What are some of the most memorable or painful distance sets you've done?
I mean, distance sets specifically, one that I regularly look back on, Sean, was I think I forget what year it was, but one New Year's Eve, I think we did 100 hundreds. And that was the first time I had done that kind of set at that distance. And I mean, I did not enjoy it during the set, but afterwards, I'm definitely grateful for going through all that. It's definitely helped me become more mentally tough and physically tough, knowing that if I can survive and do well in a set like that, then one single 400 doesn't seem that bad anymore. And so sometimes it's really important to go through the really hard sets in practice because it makes racing so much easier.
Okay, great. What advice would you give parents on how to best support a swimmer?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. From personal experience, I'd say I have the best parents out there. They've definitely supported me 100% the whole way. They would get up at 4:30 in the morning and drive me to practice almost every day. And so they were definitely there to give me everything that I needed and to encourage me to do my best. But they would also be able to recognize if I'm having an off day or if I needed a change. They wouldn't pressure me into doing something. They would kind of let me make my own decision, knowing that I still had the best for swimming and the best for my swimming career in my mind. They would still let me kind of take the reins and make the decision if I needed a little break or if I needed them to do something. I think it's really important as a parent to just listen to your kid as they're growing up, because the older they get, the more they understand their body, and the more they understand the sport and everything that's going on. And so I think it's really important to keep them kind of focused in the right direction, but let them make the most important decisions for them.
Okay. What's the best piece of advice anyone has given you as an athlete, coach, teammate, or otherwise?
I think the best piece of advice, it wasn't really advice when I got it, but it's definitely something that I have turned into advice that I tell other people. Something that I've learned to do is, or to understand that there's kind of no such thing as a bad swim. You might consider you have a bad swim or a bad race if you don't meet that one goal that you set for yourself at that one point in time in that one swim. But to everyone else, they might not know that you didn't reach that goal, so they might think that you had a really good swim. But I think when you might not be happy with how you swim or with that race that you just swum, I think it's important that you take a step back and, kind of like what I was saying before, kind of pick a point in that race or that swim that you can learn from. I think everything that you do in life you can learn from that can better yourself in the future. And so if you keep getting down on yourself and you keep beating yourself up, it kind of makes it hard for you to look at something and kind of find the positives in something. And I know I've been there. I've beat myself up so many times after something that I wasn't quite happy with. But now I'm kind of learning that everybody has off swims. Everybody has really good swims. It's just how you learn from each swim to make you better for the next.
Okay, wonderful. How much time do you allocate to train technique versus training endurance? How does that change from younger to when you become older?
Throughout my career, I definitely, for me specifically, being more distance oriented and mid distance, I think it was important to have that distance at a young age and kind of getting that endurance kind of training background in my system, in my body at a younger age. I think that's important for everyone to do because when you're at a young age, your body's most adaptable. You can bounce back pretty quickly. And so that's a great way to get kind of in the sport. I think as I've gotten older and as I've kind of been working with people who are older, I've watched people kind of branch off and specialize in different events, whether it's like a stroke event or a sprint or more distance. And I think as you get older, you can try different things and see what works for you. I think that's really cool. I think you try new things and what works. It's really exciting because then you can bring your swimming career to the next level. For me personally, I really like training each stroke individually some days, and then also having a set where you train two strokes, like a back breast practice to work the middle part of the IM. And I think that's just something that I found that works for me. It's been a little different. I think getting older, I definitely don't need to do as much like distance training as before because I'm just focusing on the 400 now. But I think it's really important to kind of get that background of trying everything.
Awesome. Just before I go to the next question, for everybody online, I've got almost 80 people. One of the things that you might find interesting, both with Tessa and with Mabel, that one of the things we did together was that they had open water experience early, somewhere around 14 to 16 years old. Oh, we're getting a 10-minute time warning here. So coming off that open water, that I felt was just important for them to do as athletes to make them better in the pool, so that an 800 or 400 seems so much shorter. But a lot of you won't know, this is a trivia fact, and it's just a testament to these ladies and their toughness, is that at Nationals, they have both gone the very first event at the finals of Nationals where they swam 800 free, and the way that the event order went was the next event was the women's 200 fly. And both of these ladies went open water and then went to a Nationals where they swam the 800 free, literally got out, stand behind the blocks, got up and did 200 fly. Now, I won't say the 200 fly was super stellar after that, but we had multiple coaches come over to us and just say, wow, thanks for providing an example for the rest of our team on what it means to be tough, right? So pretty cool stuff. Okay, another question, what do you do outside the pool that's helped you the most inside the pool?
Outside the pool, this year specifically, I've really been trying to eat really healthy. I've been trying lots of new foods and different kinds of cooking and recipes, and I've been having lots of fun. I've definitely kind of noticed a little bit of a change in my body, kind of how I'm and my energy levels in practice and throughout a meet, they kind of change in a good way for me. And so I think like continuing to have just like a healthy lifestyle outside of the pool in any way that you can would definitely help you inside the pool.
Okay, great. How do you stay positive during a challenging practice?
To stay positive during a hard practice, I like to kind of break the set up into chunks that seem more manageable. And I really like to find the part of the set that I really need to focus on. Like if it's a set of 100s, every like third one fast, I really like to focus on that 100 at a time. So it kind of makes the set more manageable, makes it a little bit like smaller in your head sometimes. And so kind of just finding the parts of the set that need a lot of focus kind of helps to break it up a bit and make it a bit more enjoyable sometimes.
Interesting question. Are you staying with the Toronto Titans for the ISL season 3? And second part of that question, how do you get involved with ISL?
Yeah, but before I go into this question, since we only have a few more minutes left, I wanted to wish you, Coach Sean, a happy birthday on behalf of the entire club.
Thank you.
But yeah, going into ISL for season 3, right now I am hoping to stay with the Toronto Titans. They haven't come out with kind of the roster yet for season 3, and as you've probably seen between season 1 and season 2, people change teams all the time, and so nothing right now has been published yet, but I'm definitely hoping to stay on the Toronto Titans. And how did I get involved? I think after my collegiate career was finished, I was definitely trying to get my name out as much as possible to see what kind of professional opportunities were available. That involved talking to a lot of people and kind of just finding any way to get my name out there. I was really fortunate enough to be given an opportunity to compete in the ISL, and I think it definitely has been one of the highlights of my swimming career so far.
Excellent. So I've written down 100 hundreds. I've written down, no, just kidding. So last chance for questions. There's been a lot. It's been really good. And I think this has been a tremendous success. And as usual, once you kick something off, he usually catches fire and builds. So, we got about 4.5 minutes left. If you have any other questions for Tessa, maybe one thing I'll ask you, Tessa, is how did open water help you? We certainly never made it a priority, right? It was not we're going to become open water swimmers, but the philosophy that we always had was that we would go and do this as a fun breakup of training. It would be challenging. It would be a nice reward in training to go to, I think we were in Cozumel one time, and I think, where was the other one? Was it, help me remember.
We went to the Cayman Islands one time.
Cayman Islands, right.
But yeah, I think open water definitely helped at that age. Going into it, I know I didn't want to make open water as my career full time. So looking at it as just as training, I think that it gave me a good mindset to go in. And at first doing a few 5Ks and then doing a 10K race, that was definitely, I think, more mentally challenging for me. Sometimes you have to put yourself in really tough situations and allow yourself to learn and find the best possible part of it and to kind of take away the positives from it. And so, being able to go into a scenario that is mentally tough and mentally challenging and coming out of it, learning something from it, I think that definitely is the most important part.
Great. One swimmer asks, was the 100 hundreds hard?
Yes. From what I can remember from it, it was a few years ago, but yes, it was definitely a challenging one. I know that was part of one of our Christmas training camps, and so we were definitely doing a bunch of hard sets. But yes, it's definitely on top of my list, or one of the top.
All right, 2:30 to go. What was the last piece of advice your coach said to you before you competed?
I think for the events that I've definitely done my best at, from what I can remember, the last piece of advice or the last thing that my coach has said to me is just go have fun, because you've done the work. There's nothing else that you can do now that'll change the outcome. So just go have fun, show what you've been doing, show the world who you are, and just see what you can do. And I think that has definitely stuck with me, and it gets me excited every time. Nice.
Okay. So wrapping up 137. So Tessa, tell the viewers, do you have any pets?
Yes, I have a dog and a cat. My dog is named Hank, and my cat is named Reno.
Oh, and are they with you now in your apartment?
No, they're not here right now. They are at home with my parents, but I get to see them on weekends after practice.
What breed are they is another question.
My dog is a German Shepherd Border Collie mix, so he's a pretty big dog. And my cat is just a gray tabby, normal cat.
Okay, so we're within the last minute. Going to wrap up. If there's one short, sweet piece of advice you want to give to, say, 10 and unders or developing swimmers, what would it be?
The last thing that I would say would just be have fun. Meet as many new people as you can and take everything in, because it goes by fast. So just enjoy what you're doing right now and have fun with it.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for joining in. There's my alarm. And tune in next week. And I believe we're going to try to get Lucas Warmold to do that. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you either Friday or next week. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.